Matt, over to you. Thanks so much for coming. I appreciate you doing this for us.
You bet, Dale. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so hi everybody. Thanks for joining today. Yeah, so super pumped for the opportunity to kind of speak and to share a couple things with you and my feelings around two things I think have been, kind of fairly impactful in my life and my career. And it seems a bit odd, but both, yeah. So networking and mentorship. And so, although both aren't in any way exclusive to each other, I'd say that one may lead into another. And so, yeah, so my goal for today is to share and provide you with some tactical and some practical tips and shares around the subject, and so that you can start thinking about implementing some of this stuff in life far sooner than I did. I don't think that I really thought about the importance of networking or mentorship. It was probably like 10 plus years into my career for sure. So there you go. So I'll preface by saying too, like I know there's like roughly about an hour booked for this, but dang, that is a very long amount of time for you to sit and to listen. And so the reality around some of this stuff is it's not like insanely complicated. I know it's really simplistic. So we'll do some formal stuff here. We'll get all wrapped up, far sooner. I think I had timed myself. I think we're about like 20 minutes, or I'll say this hour has 22 minutes. And then, yeah, we'll leave some time for some conversation, maybe some questions, and then I'll get you guys up and on your way for the rest of the day. So should be great. So I thought I'd share just a little bit of information kind of about me to give you some context as to who I am and why I was asked to speak to you today. So yeah, so my name's Matt Aubin. So I am the founder and CEO of Keen Creative and have been for the last 20 years. I'm the president of Keen Group and of Blackhausens. I am a partner at North Elm Construction, a partner at the Hookups. I'm the current president of EO Edmonton, and I've been 6 years on that board. I'm a past mentor in the EO Accelerator program and at a mentorship program for the PLLC at the U of A. I'm currently an expert on demand for Edmonton Unlimited. I am a NAIT marketing and photography grad, and I'll say that I'm a professional idea generator and coffee dater, and a very non-professional skier and mountain biker. Although I wish I was a professional at that. So, so there you go. I figured I'd share a bit of information too quickly about while I have you, some quick stats on Keen and some of the impact that we've provided over our 20-year history. So yeah, so 20 plus years in business, we have worked and helped with about 700 plus clients over that time frame, including about 16,000 projects that we've wrapped up for those clients. We have on average we have about 75 projects on the go at any given time. A number I feel pretty proud about, but and this is probably larger now, but we have donated just about $750,000 to charity, and that is through our team and a lot of great work, and so wonderful things. So yeah, we have an awesome team here in-house. We've got marketing people and creative directors and developers and photographers, videos, content writers, digital, you name it. So just a bunch of things there. So. Okay, so you're probably asking, okay, that's all great, but you're here and you're probably asking, well, why should I really care about networking and mentorship? And I'd say that both really do help to open doors, create opportunities, and to facilitate growth. So career growth and life, and just I think simply just as a human, I think there's some pretty great things. I would say. Yeah, for me, I think I've worked really hard to develop like a fairly robust network of people that I can rely on, that I can reach out to, refer others to, that I can work with and learn from. And I'd say, yeah, without, kind of like being somewhat boastful, I think I can share that I am largely known for connecting great people together to accomplish big things. And yeah, and this is like, I think in business and community, for nonprofits, and then, yeah, for myself personally. So I think my emphasis on leveraging relationships has really resulted in like a fairly rewarding career. So it legitimately has, I think we've We've done millions of dollars worth of revenue generated. We've employed hundreds of people and had a fairly large impact on community as a whole. So today I'm going to just share a few things with you to hopefully encourage you to do the same. So fingers crossed. Okay, so let's start with networking. So what is networking? So really simply put, it's the process of building relationships with people. So people that may have the ability to advance your career or life overall. It's building lasting and memorable bridges that can provide you access to things or people and have just like a huge benefit and, long lasting results. And so I think in today's age and maybe a stage where, lots of you are as maybe college students, this is really more important than ever before. So why is that? Well, I think, right now, as maybe you're kickstarting your career, the people that you meet during your time at NAIT can become like hugely valuable connections to you. So those professors or classmates or alumni can help you to they could land you that dream job or provide valuable career advice. So, I think all these people have the ability to be your referral network, to be your coworkers. It could be your clients or your boss, or even maybe at some point in time, employees of yours at one day. And I think, for me, I can say that absolutely that's been the case. So all of which, I think has had like a really significant impact on my career, which is, super awesome. Okay, so long-term benefits and outcomes of networking. So in my mind, effective networking results in like 5 major things. So I think opportunities, resources, credibility, communication skills, and then, support systems. So I think like if we're diving in, so opportunities. So I think, this can be career opportunities, partnerships, or client opportunities, even mentorship opportunities can come out of it. I'd say for example, I've gained like clients, I've started businesses, I've become partners and have been both a mentor and a mentee through my networking connections. So, wildly impactful kind of in my life. Okay, resources. So your network gives you access and opens the doors to just like a wealth of resources. So this is like, it could be advice and information, it's people, knowledge, and know-how. And as it's either, build or become part of a community, you gain impactful resources really quickly and saving you time and frustration, stress, etc. So, so resources, it's a good one. Okay, credibility. So as you grow your network and really, share your personality, your personal brand, your knowledge with others, it really helps to grow credibility for you and all that you do. So you attending and contributing events, it helps to position you as an expert in your field. And, some of these things like this is why I have the opportunity to do events like this and to speak to you guys today. So it's really the credibility that I've built that allows me to do so. So, okay. And then, so communication skills. So networking really provides opportunities to practice communication skills, which are critical, I think, both personally and professional settings. And again, as you network with different people, you develop, I think, better listening skills, better negotiating skills, presentation skills, all of that. And so I'd say when I was at NAIT, there's like no chance that I would have been comfortable to be in front of an audience, kind of like today. But look at me now, Mom, I'm rocking it. So with a few years practice, I've been able to speak in front of, hundreds of people at a time. And I'm just like solidly cool as a cucumber. Absolutely. So. And then last but not least, support systems. So networking can absolutely provide I think a super robust support system. It's a sense of community. It can just be reassuring to connect with people who share the same interests or passions or goals, and who can, offer support, encouragement, or mentorship when needed. So, find people that really, really propel you, that push you forward, surround yourselves with them versus maybe people that are dragging you down, I think, to some extent. So, cool? Yes. Okay. So, so now we've learned a few things. So how do we really go about networking effectively? So, we're just going to share a few tips here. So, The biggest thing that I think when it comes to networking is be a flippin' human. It's really impactful. I would say, sorry, I'm losing my notes here. Yeah, just I think being a real person. You can connect with people about real things, not just about the weather or what they do. It's building true connections. So that could be like common interests. It could be hobbies, like random loves or topics to connect and chat with people about. And so, yeah, I think just like listen, be present, take it all in. Don't be nervous. I think that's one of the things I find is sometimes, if you're at an event and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I don't want to approach this person. Like people are people. And so like, what is the worst thing that can happen? So just be you. And I think that leads into, I'd say my second point is just be memorable doing it. So find ways to like showcase your personality, to stand out and to truly connect with people. So I think, I thought I would share maybe like a topical example of this. So I'd say like most years, so as a NATE grad and owning a creative agency, like most years I attend the NATE like promo and campaign planning event. And so like, sometimes that's an awesome event, but as an industry person being there, sometimes it can be like, there's for sure people that can be super awkward. And in a particular year, I'd say that was like 100% the case. So I was at a table with a group of people that were like insanely nervous, all but one person. And, we started kind of talking about the meal, and randomly, like he, sort of shared, well, previously to NATE, he had worked as a chef. And so when I just was, like asked, okay, well, what's like the one thing, what's your favorite thing to make? What's your favorite meal? And he said fried chicken. And so it just so happened, who doesn't love fried chicken? But I'd say it's like one of my favorite meals too. So yeah, we ended up we chatted all night. We connected over chicken. Like this isn't, again, it wasn't the weather. It was about fried chicken, deliciousness. And this led to me, I'd say like some time down the road, I hired this individual and really helped to kickstart their career in the industry. So, those conversations can be hugely impactful. Okay, point 3. So attend events. Like I would say, it seems, pretty simplistic there. So even that NATE hosts, I think a ton of different variety of networking events. Could be like job fairs or industry specific events. Attend as many of these things as you can. Come prepared, be ready to connect with people. Again, it's increasingly hard to grow your network if you're not there. So just make sure you're there. Make sure you're there. So point 4, I'd say, is really get social. And so, I think that Instagram and TikTok they're awesome. They have their places. But for your career, I think LinkedIn is a huge networking tool. And so just make sure that you're on it, that your profile is up to date, and it's on brand for you. And then just connect with people in your desired industry. It could be shared interests, and really start building relationships online. So even today, if I don't get, at least a few people that reach out and connect to me on LinkedIn, I'll be so angered. I'll be just hurt. I'll be so hurt, you guys. So, but it's a good place. It's, somewhere that, again, you can share knowledge, experience, job opportunities, all that stuff is there. So be there and be social. So, okay. Point 5. So just volunteer. So volunteering is a great way to really connect with people. Again, you may share common interests or cares with. So this could be professional organizations. It could be over sports. It could be hobbies, nonprofit organizations, all of these things. So there's I don't know who the quote is from, but there's an expression that says givers gain. And to me, volunteering is exactly where that hits home. And you never know what you'll gain, but you gotta give. You gotta give a little bit. So. And then point 6, it's just really following up. So after meeting someone new, be sure that you follow up with them within a few days. You could send a really personal message, thanking them for their time, and just expressing your interest to stay in touch. Connect with people on social, all those things. Just continue the conversation and reinforce the reasons why people should stay connected, right? So. Okay, if you put this into practice, I think there's no doubt that it'll have huge, huge benefits for all of you. And so, so there you go. Okay, how are we feeling? Everyone's hanging in there. Yes? Okay. I know it's just like, it's propelled information. We're just like, psh, we're tossing it out there. So, okay, so that is networking. We're going to talk about mentorship. So I think that, yeah, having been both a mentee and a mentor over my career, I'm super passionate about this subject. In my view, mentors are just invaluable, can be an invaluable resource to really help to move you forward and just like break down any barriers in your way, right? They've gone through some things, they have advice to share and really want to help. So a mentor is really someone who provides this amazing guidance, support, advice, and shares their experiences. And I think too, I'll say like positive and negative ones too. It's really, what can you glean from people that are helping to navigate your own career and, or personal life, right? So having a mentor, I think, can be incredibly, incredibly beneficial. So, I mentioned I've, had the privilege of being a mentee. So I've had the privilege of working myself with like 3 hugely talented and like incredibly knowledgeable official mentors in my career. All have contributed like some wildly impactful things to both my business and my personal life. So I think through mentorship, I've gained like a new perspective on my potential, like as a person, I think as a leader, in my career path, my roles in business. I'd say like even as a parent and friend and partner. I think I've really gained a lot out of that. So I owe an absolute ton to mentorship and can safely say that I am a better human because of it. So there you go. So all that said, okay, so what qualities really make a good mentor? I think if you're going out to explore a mentor, I think these are some things that are positive to know. And so, so one, they have experience. Like I think a good mentor has likely been through the same struggles or challenges that you're currently facing or will face. And they can provide ideas, advice, just like shared experiences based on their own lives. That will really help you to avoid some common pitfalls or issues. So in my experience, sometimes simply even having someone reflect back to say like, if I'm sharing something pretty like, hey, I'm going through this thing, and they reflect back and they're like, hey, oh man, like I have been there before and this is what I did, like some of that, just the relatability can be incredibly impactful in itself. So too, and I think like, they can provide a really fresh perspective. So sometimes if it's, it takes a really different view to solve a problem or overcome a challenge, a mentor can provide like that perspective and help you to see things in a new light, right? Like maybe you're looking at things as just like, here's this thing, it's right in front of my face, this massive problem. They're separating themselves and looking at it from a different angle and be like, oh, did you know if you did this, right? And so, I think that there's, oftentimes when we're in the thick of a challenge, we might feel like it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like the sky is falling, the world is turning, it's the worst thing. But, is it truly, right? Is that truly reality? So mentors can be huge when it comes to that. I would say that, just like they are like truly growth focused. So look for a mentor that is growth focused. A mentor can provide like, I think, amazing, guidance and support to help you develop new skills, take on new challenges, and can help to set goals and hold you accountable to achieving them, right? Like they should be someone that wants to like push you forward and help you to achieve something that you've deemed as being the impossible, right? Like they should be that type of people. And I would say like a good mentor has like a genuine care for you, like a genuine care for you and your needs. There's someone who can, put their own agenda or their views or their needs aside for your benefit. So they're not just sitting here politicking or wanting to hear their own voice, because sometimes that can happen. They're listening, they're caring, they're understanding, and generally putting your needs and growth first. So good mentors. Okay, so now that you've got a solid handle on what makes a good mentor, but what are the things that you should be considering on your end to make the process easier, and what will help this process to ensure that you are potentially a wonderful and amazing mentee? And so a couple of things just in prepping for mentorship. So I think the first and most important thing is just like having some form of defined goals, right? And so even if they're not yet totally specific, I think a mentor needs to have an understanding of like what you need and what you're trying to accomplish. I think it can be like super tough if you're trying to hit a target that like doesn't exist or is consistently moving. And so really having defined goals is pretty huge. I'd say same goes for expectations. So expectations of like them, what you're looking for, like time commitment, engagement, and the relationship as a whole. So I think if you're really going to find a mentor, just be like, really crystal clear on what you're asking of them. So no one wants to get into a relationship that kind of has no parameters or no end. So I'd say have that, very well defined for them. So. And then, once you start working with a mentor, I think really be proactive and be prepared. So if you're asking someone to give you of their time and share their knowledge, you've got to be planned, you've got to be organized, and you've got to be really ready to move it forward. So I'd say, like, as having been a mentor in the past, it is. That can be hugely frustrating, is like if people are showing up not prepared for the meeting, or again, we've talked about certain things and they're not doing them. It can be a tough one. So, and then next, just be like really open and receptive to shares and new ideas, right? So if you're looking for a mentor, there's likely a very good reason, and that's you don't have to do everything that they recommend, but you have to be open to hearing it without judgment or hurt feelings. I think closed-minded mentorship does not go very far, and so really just being open to that. And then lastly, I think it's just incredibly impactful just to be like grateful and appreciative for their time, right? And so, like your mentors are likely very scheduled people. They're very busy, and oftentimes, so just show thanks and gratitude for the time that they give and devote to you. Mentorship can be like extremely rewarding on both sides, I'll say. But if it needs to be shared, it needs to be, like a simple thank you can really go a very long way into a lot of that. Okay. So, now that we know what we're looking for in a good mentor and some tips on being a very good mentee, but how can you go about finding this very impactful mentor in your life that can contribute? And it can seem really a bit daunting to find someone. And so we're going to just chat about, a couple tips. So here we go. Okay, so one, just look for someone who is either in your industry or has experience in your field. Maybe like find someone that has accomplished some big things or that you admire or aspire to be. You don't, like do your research on them. Like I think, really research people, explore if it's a really good fit. I think that's a really key one. Okay, you've got this awesome resource. Like as a NAIT student, you have this wonderful network. And so, I think just like reach out to alumni, right? As a NAIT student, you're part of this, huge organization, and, people want to see you thrive and be successful. And so use it to find and connect with potential mentors. And just like you could chat with your instructors or like past students, reach out to the right people and network and ask if they would be willing to mentor you, right? So there's a really good resource that's, that you're a part of. So, and then I'll say again, no different is like, the bringing networking kind of back into things is just like attend events and conferences, right? And so, just take part in industry or association events. Again, network with people, gain information, and like a sense of them, right? And so, how do you get along with people? Do they seem like they would be a supportive individual? Would they make a great mentor for you? And so, and then point 4, so just, I think leverage your network. I think, oftentimes like people are afraid to say, but just like put it out into the world, right? So get on LinkedIn and post that like, hey, I'm looking for a mentor to do this or to help me through that thing. And you could also like talk to your colleagues and friends, family, etc. Just let people know what you're looking for, what characteristics or experiences that you're looking for in a mentor. Just get it out, put it out into the world. So. And then I think this is like a very simple one, but seemingly it seems like the most difficult one. But it's just ask, like simply ask. So once you've really like identified someone who you think, hey, this person, I admire them. They could be a great mentor. I think I could learn a lot from them. Just like, don't be afraid to reach out and to ask if they'd be willing to mentor you. Again, I think it's like, it is the worst thing that someone could say is no. And maybe if it's not right for them, there's like a very strong likelihood that maybe like, it's not right for me. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the time right now. I'm sure they're flattered. And so they may also have, like be willing to, I don't know, send to someone else, or, hey, I've got someone that I could recommend that might be able to do the same. So there you go. Okay. So there you go. So to wrap things up, I know, see, I told you we were going to be like really quick here. So to wrap things up, I think there's like some huge benefits to both, networking and mentorship. And together, I do feel like they are this awesome dynamic duo that can really deliver a huge punch and impact in your career and lives, right? And so they both position us and support, growth as humans. And it's really, it's not overly challenging or rocket science. I think I would encourage you to like take action, really start today, start growing your network and your support system. It's, I think it's really for your own personal benefits. And so, so get out there, let's say build some bridges, break down those barriers, right? So there you go. That's all I got, y'all.
Very
Done.
nice, Matt. Nicely done.
Woo! Questions.
So, questions, and are we keeping it narrow? Are we doing mentoring and networking, or is it wide open? Are we going crazy?
It's whatever you want to know. I'm super happy to answer any questions. So at all.
Perfect. Folks, I'll give you two options. Either put your question in the chat and I'll ask it, or there's a little hand running along the bottom. If you click that, then I'll call on you and you can actually go off mic and ask your question in person. So while folks are considering those options, we did get a question. Do you have any practical tips to add someone to your network, especially someone in your intended industry and that could be busy?
I think there's lots of tips. So if it's someone that, again, that you've never really reached out to, or that you maybe haven't met at an event, like legitimately, I would say reach out to, I think LinkedIn is a pretty wicked tool, and we've kind of talked about that, but it's just such a thing that you could be researching, like, okay, whatever, and I don't know whatever everyone's industry is in here, but you could say like, okay, I'm looking to talk to like, Edmonton entrepreneurs, or I'm looking to talk to finance people in Edmonton, like whatever that would be, or a specific company, or just research that person individually. I think just like, it's easy, reach out to them, connect, be genuine in it. So I think, I can say that I want to connect with people that are, again, real people and not something that, or they're just like, it's sort of a very computer generated response or something like that. Like, I think, just be very genuine in your interactions. And then oftentimes too, like, I joke about that I'm a professional coffee dater, but I love to connect with people and to meet people for coffee. And so, I think that's no different. If you reached out to someone that you were really looking to connect with and said, hey, listen, I truly admire, what you've done or what you've built, or, what you've done in the industry, I would love to, like, at some point, I know you're busy, but I would love to connect over a coffee in the next few months. Can you let me know if you'd be open to it, or a date that might work? Like that, something, a little ask like that can go a long way. It's very different if it's like, your ask is like, hey, like, I've got a free hour today. Can you meet me for coffee? Like, here, because that's what works for me. I can tell you, like, the response is like a solid hell no. Like, and I legitimately will get those from time to time, right? And so it's just like, I think it's being really respectful of the other person's time. I think that really goes a long way. So hopefully that answered the question.
And Dan has a follow-up. He'd like to know what your favorite coffee is.
Oh, okay. That's a tough one. I like coffee. Well, like place here, are we talking? I don't know. There's such, Edmonton's got such good coffee, like Ace, Transcend. I'm like a daily Starbucks guy anyway. Like, I think there's just lots of options, right? So there's lots of good coffee in this city. So, but there you go. I'm not a Tim. I'd say I don't know. I don't view myself as a coffee snob, but I'm just like, I don't love Tim Hortons coffee. I'm be real with that.
All
So
right. There's one, Matt, that I want to know, which is you've got the date, the coffee meeting, or you're talking to somebody in a networking event. Do you have things that you check off? Like what do you go with beyond what do you do for a living? Or isn't that weather nice today?
yeah, it's a tough one. Like I think it could be something like honestly, and it is really hard. And I think again, that's the thing about just being a good human in it is like I think sometimes we tend to just be like, oh hi, like how are you? Oh, it's thank God we got that rain, right? Like all these fires, and oh, what do you do for a living? Like to your point, Dale. But yeah, I think it's just try to think of something different that maybe might make you more memorable. So if you're at an event, you might even lean over, and be like, God, like I love this, but these I don't know, hors d'oeuvres are horrendous, or like whatever it is. Like, how do you feel about them? Like, there could be just, I don't know, different way of working the room and talking to people that are just like on a human level, right? Or it could be like, hey, I really love that jacket you're wearing, or like, oh man, those shoes are awesome, or those shoes look like terribly uncomfortable. Like, there could be like just have like a real conversation with people before diving into straight like, well, what do you do, or all of that stuff, right? And so it's again like I think it's really yeah, impactful conversations that are just different, because I can tell you like at all those events, if someone the amount of times I might ask like, hi, I'm so and so and this is what I do, or what do you do, it's forgettable. And yeah, I think it's impactful if you're remembered, right? Like as a little tip, so I'll share this. So oftentimes, and now with COVID, like business cards aren't handed out as much as they once were, but I oftentimes like I have a little trick for business cards of like who is memorable and who is not. And so if you pass out your business card to me, and if I take it and I put it in my right pocket at the end of the night, okay, this is someone that I'm interested in connecting to. And if I put it in my left pocket, it was like either a horrendous conversation or something weird, I don't want to connect with them. So I don't know if that's a good tip for you guys, but little
I remember,
takeaway anyway.
I remember when I used to write notes on the business cards, but you're right, not a lot of people
Yeah,
carry them anymore.
it's
Do you
totally
have like
true.
a business card replacement that you use or that you're seeing people use?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, so there is a piece on, because I think there's like oftentimes people will want to do like now there's the just sort of like individual like electronic cards, and they can be like, hey, let me tap. But I'm like, I may not really want you in my phone all the time forever. And so I think, again, if I go back to LinkedIn has a really solid feature where all it is yeah, it's just I think it's at the top search. There's a little button that you click and it brings up a QR code for your profile. And then you could just say, oh yeah, here's me. And like, just click it, scan it, and it brings you right to your LinkedIn profile. So then you guys can connect there, right? And so I think it's an easier ask than saying like, hey, let me just tap my card and put whatever information I want into your phone, because that might not always be what I want or what people want in general. I shouldn't just say me, but like what people want in general, right? So yeah.
Fair. I use personally I use an app called Blink, and it's another thing too where
Okay.
you scan the QR code, and
Yeah.
if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter, there's my email, my phone
Oh,
number.
okay.
And
See?
yeah, I guess I'll be selective with it as well, but yeah, I'll put the name up
Good,
in
good
the
learning here. There you go. Yeah. I like
chat.
it.
Um, uh,
Awesome.
we've got a question in the chat. What in your mind is a timeline for a great mentorship relationship, especially if you're not in the same company?
Yeah. So that's tough. And I think I think that's where I talk about like really defining that from the onset. And so because as both like having been a mentor and a mentee, I've had some that have been like pretty quick, and then others that have been like years. And so I think like a year term as a starting standpoint is like something, and maybe just defining that too. So if it's a matter of like, hey, if you're reaching out to a mentor and you're saying, hey, I would love to connect with you. I would love to, would you work with me in a mentorship capacity? Here's why. Here's what I want to do. Like my goals are these things. And then really saying like, I'd love to be, if we could meet for an hour once a month for the next year that would be impactful, right? And so something like that is just really defining that, because again, then if, as a potential mentor, I could look and say, okay, well, do I have an hour a month that I could spare to really help someone and create an impact? Yeah, I could do that for sure. But if it's a matter of like, hey, I'd really like to be like, could you be my lifelong mentor and meet with me once a week, and it's going to be 5 hours a time? I mean, that's just like, holy cow, that's like a really big ask. And so I think it's, it's starting, I think, with a good cadence, and again, not making it such a huge ask. Like I would say, and I've had, when I speak about some of the 3 mentors that I work with kind of previously, for me as me being a mentee, it was really defined. The first one was like, hey, it was a year-long engagement. It was like wildly impactful, really huge CEO in the city here. And but afterwards too, it was a matter of like, we were kind of wrapping things up, and he said like, hey, I've really enjoyed this. Would you, how do you feel about extending this engagement for another year? And I was like, yeah, like absolutely. Like there's no chance I was going to be like, no, man, like I don't know, right? So, so yeah, absolutely. I think, I think a year-long engagement or even if it's like, if you have a goal in mind too, you might look at that too. Like, let's say if it was like, hey, in 6 months from now, I really want to accomplish this thing. Would you be willing to work with me, once a month for the next 6 months? I think something like that, again, it just gives something, I think a mentor it's impactful to know the amount of time and requirement versus this just open-ended, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Good. Yeah. And we've got a bunch of questions coming in now. Kemi
All right.
says, I'm an
Let's do it.
international student. The
Mhm.
drawback of networking for me is feeling that I might not be understood because of my very different background. I would like to give
Totally.
to hear some tips on how to overcome that feeling and build my network.
So in a networking capacity,
Yeah.
okay, so I think not being from here gives you an opportunity to like share, to like, it gives you an opportunity in my mind to just, now you have something interesting to talk about, right? So I don't know where I'm not sure where you're from. So let's say I'll say you're from France. I don't know. To just be like, oh, these events are, these are so fun, but like, man, in France, where I'm from, these events are like this. And then it starts to maybe spark up a different conversation. And so I think you've got a really cool tool, that you could utilize, right? That, might be really impactful. So I don't know. That's my view. Like I, fully understand. Like in times like language barriers can happen. That can be challenging. But I think it also gives you something to, I think that's authentically who you are, and it gives you something that you could, leverage that I don't have. If I'm meeting someone from here, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh yeah, I'm from Sherwood Park. That's so far away from Edmonton. Like it's not, like there's nothing that I can utilize. And so I think for that application, you've got, something to talk about, which is cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'll add, if you don't mind,
hmm,
ask for help. If you're in a
hmm,
new situation or environment, one of the best icebreakers is to say, "Hey, can you help me find this?" Or, "Hey,
that's
I'm new
true.
at this. Can you tell me what this is about?" Great openers for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Uh, Farhad asks, "Is age a factor in looking for a mentor? I'm 42 and in mid-level IT position, looking to get into management."
Yeah. Okay, so is age a factor? It's interesting. So I think it's more experience than age, to be honest. So I've seen, there's times like even for me in particular programs. So when I said I've been a mentee in a particular program, I've also been asked to be a mentor in that same one. And my feeling was just like, oh man, I don't have the right experience for it, or like I'm going to be mentoring people that in my mind are like significantly well advanced. But it comes down to, does a potential mentor have something that they can share, that they can, kind of spur you on, and, help your career, help you to grow. So to me, that's more based around experiences, versus age. And I have seen times where, again, we've had, so I'll say, so through EO Edmonton, which is Entrepreneurs Organization, So there's a mentorship program in that organization, and so I have seen for sure older mentees than their mentors, and it's again based on that mentee was looking to like pivot their career or to accomplish something different. And so yeah, I think to me, a good mentor is just really more someone who has experiences that they can share. Right. And I think the really positive aspects around mentorship too for me are those experience shares versus advice. Like advice can be really dangerous to some extent. So a good mentor has the ability to share more experience versus, so if you're like, hey, I'm looking to do this thing, I'm looking to invest, and someone said, and your mentor was like, oh man, that I would totally do that if I were in your shoes. I would invest, or you should invest, right? So the you should can be like one of the most dangerous words, or some of the most dangerous words, because it can be something where you're like, okay, the mentor said I should do this. I take all my life savings, I put it into this stock, and the stock goes under, and like, oh my gosh, I've lost all my money. And then you go back to that mentor, you're like, you've ruined me. Like my life is, is over. I've lost all my life savings. So to me, really good mentorship is about experiences versus age. So hopefully that answers that.
Well said. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shez asks, what kind of traits do mentors look for in their mentees?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we talked about some of this stuff, but for me, it's really someone who you've got some defined goals. You have again, you have goals, you're prepared, you want to accomplish something, you want to grow, you're open to listening, and value, right? Like I think that's, on occasion where I've had opportunities where I've been like a mentor in a program, and it just like there is really no gratitude. And again, most of the time it's not like mentorship is paid, right? So it's like someone's giving of their time. I want to be seeing results as a mentor. So I want to know that like someone is just as dedicated as I am to this. Someone's just as dedicated to seeing this through or to accomplishing things, or like, if they say they're going to do something, I want to know they're going to do it. Right. And so, yeah, I think those are some really good traits. Those are the big things for me. It's not, personality traits can be very different. You could have someone that's like, very quiet or introverted or extroverted, or like highly intelligent, or, a higher EQ. Those things aren't as impactful to me as, just a willingness, a want to learn, a want to grow, dedication, preparedness, a lot of that. So.
Okay. Awesome. And I like this question too. How does one become memorable? And just speaking for myself, being 6'5", 6 feet tall, and nearly 300 pounds, that does it for me. I don't know if that'll work for everyone though. But so how does one become memorable?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I feel like I'm probably more on the opposite side of like I'm shorter, and like it's for me to stand out in a room. It can be tough. I think for me, I think really it's like about confidence. And so when you're going into this room of just like having confidence that you're like, I'm going to own this flipping room for a minute here. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to have a weird conversation, or like, again, I think it's like, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen here? Like, it's not, I think, are there certain things that make you memorable, of like, oh, that was a funky shirt that person was wearing, or they talked about this weird subject matter, or they approached me in a strange way, or again, like, I think it can be some of those things. If they just came up and said like, hey, question, what do you think about these things? Like it's a different approach, but it's really being confident in it. That oftentimes makes it memorable for me. I think it's just like, what are some things that stand out versus everyone that can be in a room? And again, I think, going into a new room full of people, it can be like wildly intimidating, right? Like you're going to this room, and like and that's speaking from my own experience. Like oftentimes I'll walk into a room like, holy crap, I'm in a big room, and it's full of like people in like very expensive suits, and oh my God, like that person is this person. Oh my God, like I know that they have that business, or like, oh, I've done those things, and it can be super intimidating. But the reality, again, is just like people are people, right? And so there is always going to be someone who's like I'm going to say there's always going to be dicks. Like there's always going to be someone who isn't like, you know, if you're trying to be memorable and it falls flat, hey, at least you're trying. And there's always going to be a dick out there who's like, well, I didn't enjoy this, or like, but like, there's a high chance that maybe you don't want to connect with that individual anyway. I don't know. That's my feeling about it. It's just, yeah.
My
Anyway,
my go-to is actually to make the entire conversation me trying to figure out how to help them. And then
yeah,
give the onus on them to contact me if they actually want the
yeah.
help, which dramatically
Well,
reduces my workload a lot.
and to your point, Dale, yeah, like I think to your point, Dale, too, it's like ask questions, right? Like no one want like if most people don't enjoy conversations that are like, let me tell you about me. Here's me. Here's what I think. It's like I don't know. It's ask questions, have conversations, right? And so, Dale, to your point of like, hey, if you're helping, hey, I want to help to solve some problems, or like, what's going on in your world? Or, oh man, like I wish I could help, or like, why don't I, and again, I think as your network grows, sometimes those are the values of just like, hey, what if I connected you with this person? Would that be impactful? You're like, oh my God, like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, and that's happened at events. If I'm talking to someone and they might say, well, I'm looking to do this thing right now in my business, and I'm like, oof, I could totally connect you with this person. I think that might like change your world. That is a pretty memorable conversation, right? And so, and then, obviously with the follow through is huge in that, but yeah, yeah, I like the problem solving. It's a good idea.
Um, Here asks, are there any networking events, resources you would recommend, and in their case specifically geared towards IT analysts? And I should
Mm,
tell you, Matt, the makeup of the room is we have a
yeah.
handful of students, but a lot of folks who are from outside the
Oh,
school.
okay.
So just
Eh,
just for
well,
some context in
just
this
for,
one.
yeah, like I think honestly, I truly think that like anything, and it really depends on what you want to do. So if it's like an IT event, and you're like, okay, if you're in IT and you want to go out to other IT events, for sure you're going to make some connections there. But I often feel like connecting with people can be really just about can be about passions too. So, I mean, you could be looking to find, okay, well, what are IT events that are up and coming, or what are some tech events that are happening that I could be attending, or like, I don't know if there's like an IT association in Edmonton. How do I become some of those, go to some of those things? Oftentimes those might have like really high costs. And so that might be something that can be really challenging or really difficult. So it could be things around just like, okay, how are you connecting with people around passions that you, so even myself, so, I said I am a non-professional mountain biker. So I like mountain biking. So this year I was like, well, hey, like, why don't I connect with people around mountain biking? I've done it with clients on occasion where I've been like, okay, I'm tired of doing the coffee dates. Like, why don't we go out for a bike ride? It's healthy, it's happy, like it's something different. It's again a memorable experience, and we can connect over that. And so, so I've done that with some clients. But this year I've also signed up for like a mountain biking club. And so if I'm going out every Wednesday night and I'm meeting a handful of people, and it gives me an opportunity to connect over things that we love, but then also like, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is my business, and connect with them. So it's a different level than just strictly saying, okay, well, I need to connect exactly at an IT event, right? So there is also, I'll share too, there's a newer application in Edmonton. And so it's started by a client of ours, and it is a quasi network. I think it's called Table 4, like the number 4. And so Table 4 is just really an opportunity to network with a group of 3 other people. And so it like pairs you with people that you have similar interests with. So it could be like IT professionals, it could be, whatever that is. Like it could be mountain bike, it could be cooking, it could be, whatever that is. And it pairs you for a lunch whenever you'd like. So if it's you want to do this, try it once a week, or you want to try it once a month or once every few months, you can sign up for it. And then, yeah, you go, you pay for your own lunch. That's the only cost. And you get to meet some pretty cool people. And so, yeah, I'd say for me, we've, chatted with people that are potential employees, and, and then I've met people that are now clients based around just a simple lunch, right? So, again, it could be a really cool, impactful thing. So.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, Table 4. I've been following his progress.
Yeah.
in the Slack group for a little while here.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm going to throw out Startup TNT if anyone's interested in tech or
Mm.
innovation.
Yeah,
And Edmonton Chamber has some wicked networking events as well.
yeah.
And if you're a
There is
student,
another event. Oh, sorry, Dale. I was gonna say Edmonton Unlimited as well has a event. I think it's next week. I believe so too. It's kind of a kickoff launch event, but that's really like a tech focused organization. So that could be something again, just to go meet if you want to be meeting tech people.
yeah, the open house on Friday, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
it Friday? Is it this week? There you go.
I think it's Friday. Yeah. There's also a Edmonton Startup Awards Wednesday. So anyway, there's a million tech. If you guys want to be
Yeah.
connected to tech, just hit me up, and I'll start making some intros for you. And then Daniel suggested the Rainforest, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
if they're still doing events. I think they are though,
Yeah.
but that's a good point as well.
Yeah.
And if you're a student, we have been known to run networking events here out of the Maji Center. Don't have anything
Yeah.
planned yet because the school year hasn't started. But yeah, we definitely have networking events where we'll bring in some industry professionals to chat as well. All right, that's it. That's all. I don't think I have any other question. Oh, there was one other question. Somebody asked about the slides. Ash, no slides, but the whole recording will be available. So I'll put that up on YouTube after I go for lunch. And if I can figure out how to do it, because Cecilia used to do that, I don't know how to do it.
I have faith in you, Dale. Yeah.
Yeah, I figure it out. It just takes me so long.
Oh gosh.
Wonderful. Thanks
Anyways,
everyone for coming out.
awesome.
Matt, thank you so much for your time, man. We really appreciate it. I do want to point out that if you like this session, we've got Cecile, who's actually videoing in for this one. The person who's stressing me out here because she went and retired. She's actually doing a session on LinkedIn, and Cecile was last
Oh,
year's Connector of the Year. She won an award for it. So well worth listening to Cecile's take on LinkedIn. And that's going to be next Monday, and you can register. Find us on our Eventbrite or on our website. Did I miss anything? I think I got it all. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks again, Matt, and everyone have a wonderful day. Okay, take care.
betcha. Thanks all.